right, we're now joined on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast by Kevin Adams, the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres. And, Ray and I were talking a little bit earlier, Kevin, and teeing up the interview about the Buffalo Sabres and the strides that this team has made. But take us back to the beginning of the year. And it's probably a dangerous game when you're trying to prognosticate where you think you're going to be at the midpoint of the season. Are you a playoff team? You hope, you anticipate all of those things, but you're 43 games in now as we record this, 6 points out of a wild card spot. If you look back to the start of the season, did you expect that you would be a team that would be nibbling at a playoff spot at this stage?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. It's probably the question I get asked the most from whether it's talking to people in the media or just people in town or my own family. Hey, what do you think? The honest answer is, I didn't know going into the season. And the reason is because of how young we are. And what I really felt and knew as we built this team, the last couple of years and in the start of the season was we were going to have a ton of talent. We're going to have people that are going to compete hard. We're going to have kids that truly care and want to be here and are doing this the right way. We have a great coaching staff. We have buy-in. But what you don't know is okay, is Dylan Cozens going to take the step that he's taken? Is Owen Power going to be able to, be the defenseman right away that we all know he has been this year, but also will be in his career? Rasmus Dahlin, and just start going down the list. And then, those are just the young guys. But then you look at guys like Tage and Alex Tuck, and you say, okay, this is what we know we've seen so far, but we all believe they have steps that they can keep taking to become better and better, which they're doing. So with all that being said, that's the unknown, but I didn't want to say here's an expectation of exactly where we be. But I guess what I would say is we're learning. We're a team that, in my opinion, is starting to identify ourselves in the way we play, the roles and responsibilities within the team. And we didn't have that a year ago. We didn't have that even at game one this year. And what I get excited about is the growth that I'm seeing. And I know we're in a better spot now than we were game one. And now we have to continue to get better.
Plenty of teams make I won't say misguided, but it's like predictable view of they look at the tail end of one year when their team is excited and playing well, and they're cleaning up points on teams that maybe are going the other way at the end of last year. You guys made a really significant step. Like it was obvious just watching, without all the detail that you have to look at things. Just watching the games, you go, wow, they're way better than they were. How do you not get fooled by the tail end of that? And maybe you just answered partly, but how do you not get fooled by that and say, oh, we're better in one area and we don't have to address it?
Yeah,
because now it's a whole new year.
You know what, Ray? I think the important part is to really be able to be honest and focus on what the process of our games are. And what I mean by that is you can get, like you said, you can get really focused on results one way or the other. You can get focused on look at what our record was, or, and you forget, or maybe you miss what's the most, crucial thing is actually the process of your game and how you're having success, or why you're having success. So I think for me, it was to have honest, look as we kind of entered the off season, what we did well, what we didn't do well. Really good communication with the coaching staff and, our management team to say, okay, where are areas we need to really, focus in on. And what I felt was the process of our game was trending the right way. And if we continue to build that and push that, the results will continue to get better and better. So the other piece of that, though, is you can also get, what's the right way to say it? You can get a little bit ahead of yourselves, I think, and say you want to accelerate the development of your team and hit fast forward. And I don't believe that works. I think you have to stay disciplined, and we've tried to do that to the vision of what we're building here, identifying a core, building around the right type of people. And the example I would use is you can go out and find maybe a centerman at the start of the year that's 30 years old, that's maybe a little bit ahead in experience and maybe a little bit ahead of a player like a Dylan Cousins, say, because Dylan's 20 years old at the time or 21. But if you do that, you are risking putting Dylan in the situations he needs to be in to accelerate his development. And that's what we've tried to be really mindful of here is you don't want to throw guys to the wolves and just, sink or swim. You want to protect them, but you also need them to gain the experience. And I think that's where I'm really impressed with what Donnie Granato and the coaching staff have done. Donnie has a very rare ability to look at today and how do you win a hockey game and how do you help our players get better, but also look at the big picture and see where we need to get to and help guys get experiences to grow.
So that brings me to Rasmus Dahlin. When he was drafted, he was so far ahead as the number one pick. I remember that year at the World Junior and prior to his draft, and everybody's like, oh, you got to watch this kid. And he was so big and he was skating past and around and through people. And it took him some time. What's the ideal way to shut out the noise for probably in Buffalo too, but all around the game, people saying, oh, I don't think he can be what we thought he was going to be. He's not the player he was. Well, everybody's on a different path and man, he's just exploded we'll get into later, like he's a legit Norris Trophy candidate. He's having an amazing year. How do you be patient with all of that? Because you got three other defensemen that are kind of in the same boat with Power and Samuelson. I mean, they're different players, but man, you guys are so young back there.
Yeah, it's for me, Rasmus Dahlin, you start with the ingredients of what, it takes to be a truly elite player in this league. And that's talent, right? You have to have a certain level of talent to be at that absolute top of the pyramid, which Rasmus does. And everybody's seen that from day one. It's why he was a number one overall pick. But Rasmus also has an incredible ability to want to be the best and dissect his game and push himself. And he has an intensity about it and a passion for the game and wanting to learn and grow and be better. So those are really important. But to be honest with you, when you're 18, 19, 20, and you have the weight of the world on your shoulders and you have expectations, when you have what I just mentioned, it actually can work against you in the beginning because you're feeling so much. I want it now. I want it today. I want to be the best in the world today. And you guys know that's not typically how it works when you're that young. So there's been a lot of conversations and honest back and forth with Rasmus. I mean, that's certainly my style and Donnie's as well, to help him understand that we're here. We're going to support you. We're going to set you up for success. You keep just being you and your gifts, your genius is going to start to come. And that's what started happening as you saw it last season. And from day one of the season, I mean, he's just been tremendous. And I think the other little piece of that is he's a man now. He's 22 years old. He's a big, strong kid where, 18, 19, 20, you're still growing into your body and the physicality that he wants to play with every night. Maybe his body wasn't ready for that at, those ages. So we're excited about him. And I agree with you. He's been right up there for me with, top players in the league and, consistently a difference maker every night for us.
Well, big part of the young nucleus of the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres GM Kevin Adams, our guest on the Rain Rigs podcast. Kevin, if the Sabres are going to be active between now and the March 3rd trade deadline, how critical is it to add maybe an age-specific piece, right? I mean, everybody talks about depth, either depth on defense, depth up front, and maybe that'll be dictated by where you're at in the standings, as you get closer to March 3rd. But if you're going bigger than that, it's imperative, isn't it, that you get that piece that is going to grow with Dahlin and Power and all the young pieces you already have.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it exactly right, Dregs. Like for us, where we're at right now in our evolution as a team and organization and growth, we need players that can grow with us, and I'm on the phone every day. We're talking, making sure that we're aware of what's out there and want to be in on conversations. We wake up every day thinking, how do we improve this team and organization? But it also doesn't make sense for us to do it in a short term. This player may help us today, but is going to set us back in the long run because we've either given up assets that we're not, that we need down the road. So it's a balancing act. But for us to be active and look to acquire a player, we want to see them grow with us. And the simple example I'll give you is maybe a pickup that goes under the radar. But when we claimed Tyson Jost on waivers, this was a player that we felt 24 years old, already played 350 games of NHL experience, grew up in the Colorado organization where he saw a team go from, that built through the draft and, has had success, and in the pedigree and all that mattered. But he was also a player that we felt like can grow with us. He's not at the tail end. He's just at this great age in his career. And he's been tremendous for us since we picked him up. But that just gives you a little bit of the mindset kind of why we did it and kind of how we're looking at things moving forward.
Now, you probably can't or won't say too much, but you've got this bizarre, rare is the word I will use, spot coming up at, pretty soon here you've got two goaltenders that are terrific prospects, both of them in college, both of them coming out at the same time. And that's really not ideal. Somebody's going to feel like, hey, wait a minute, I'm the left shoe here. I'm the one that's, so you've got in Buffalo, you've got Eric Comrie, who started great, got hurt, now is back. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who was your pick from a few years ago, has really seemingly come into the spot where he's now on that trajectory with that age group you're talking about. You've got Craig Anderson, who's been an amazing mentor, but has played really good goal. And then you've got the two college kids, Devin Levi and Eric Petrillo. How do you navigate that around the deadline? Because certainly you don't want to lose one of Levi or Petrillo for nothing, and Petrillo can do that in the summer. So how do you navigate that, Kevin?
Yeah, if I zoom out for a second, and when you look at the bigger picture of our goaltending situation, I think it's why having patience is so critical in these situations, and having belief in the people in your system and where you see players you think they can get to, and I'll explain what that means in a second. So there was a lot of talk in our market of like, okay, should you go out and sign a UFA goalie? And there's nothing wrong with that, going and signing a guy to a long deal or a big deal. But what I wanted to make sure we protected against was a situation that we held a player like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen back by doing that. And what's happened now is because of the injury to Comrie, UPL's had a chance to come in and develop, and he's starting to look like he has that confidence and aura that he can go into any building and any team and just be comfortable playing, give us a chance to win games. So I really like that piece and where he's at in his progression. Craig Anderson, you mentioned, has been like just such a game changer for our organization in terms of his mentorship, and it's like having another coach, to be honest with you. I watch practice every day. He pulls players aside and, hey, look, do this, or it's just so much experience. And Eric Comrie is, first of all, a phenomenal human being and all that we expected him to be in the work ethic. And we think he's a really good NHL goalie. It's been a little bit of a tricky situation with the injury and kind of getting back in. But we're excited about him moving forward. As you now kind of look at what you're talking about, I've said this before, and I'll probably say it a lot of times. There's a lot of challenging decisions you make as a general manager and, with an organization. I call these good problems. You like good problems because bad problems are take over and drain you. These are good challenges or good problems to have. At the NHL level right now, we feel like we have three goaltenders that can play well and win hockey games. From a prospect standpoint, you look at the way that those two have played in college and the body of work they've done, tremendous. Ideally, we'd like to sign both of those guys and they'd be part of our future. I think that's great. Now, we believe that Devin Levi is just a spectacular fit for us, as the way he carries himself, his professionalism already. And I think this is a player that's going to do some special things in this league, but we're not going to rush him. We're going to take our time there with him. And Eric's a guy that has put in, good body of work in Michigan. We're going to look at the situation if we're going to continue to talk. But if there's a way we have to do something in and around the trade deadline, then we'll look to do that as well. So we're on top of it. We have good conversations. We'll manage it, and falling under the good problem category, I'll take these all day.
Well, it's funny when I watched Devin Levi the first time at the World Juniors. Maybe it's because of his height and everybody was talking about it. Right away you look at UC Saros, and I think if any goaltender is 6 feet or right around 6 feet, the patron saint is UC Saros. To go up and say to every man, see, he can do that. I can do that too. And I was really, really quite impressed with how, for not a big guy, he presents really big.
He does. And I think, I'm going to explain something that actually I didn't even realize until this summer. He's, he's 6 foot, but he has like a 40-inch waist or over a 40-inch waist, which is super interesting, other than the fact he's going to have to get his suits tailored. Like he has an explosiveness and a thickness to him that I think matches up when you watch him play your eye, because of how crisp and quick and explosive he is. Yeah, I've never been a guy that's been obsessed with size and goaltenders. Like, yeah, it's great. Like if someone's 6'6" and they're athletic and they're big, but I just really want good goaltenders, and regardless of the size. And you can go down the list in NHL history. There's been plenty of guys that aren't monsters that are pretty elite goaltenders in this league.
Kevin, last one for me. Buffalo's such a unique place. It's a small community that the people that are there, that live there, that stay involved in the community, they just love it. They love the tightness of Western New York and Buffalo. The Sabres and the Bills, of course, are connected through the ownership group, the Pagulas, but there seems to be something different there. Like the support from one to the other, it's really notable. It's really noticeable. And do you guys talk about it, or is it just natural? Or because it's not just the injury and support for Denny Hamlin, and that it's not that, it's all of it, and it's really, really pretty impressive to see.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought it up, because I feel very passionate about this and fortunate to call Buffalo home. And, being growing up here, I think I have a little bit of maybe an advantage coming into this job of truly understanding what the fan base is about. And the Sabres and Bills are part of the DNA of this town. They care, they're passionate, they want to see a certain work ethic and passion for the game with their sports teams. And I've talked over and over again about us being connected to our community, connected to our fans, them embracing what they're seeing, and also us reciprocating that back and giving to the community and being part of it. Now, the circumstances that have gone on in Buffalo over the last number of months have been devastating in some ways, and also makes all of us take a step back and realize that what we do just isn't that important at the end of the day. From what happened in the summer at top with the shooting to the devastating weather that's happened and people losing lives, and then certainly the Bills situation. These are really tough things that have gone on in this community. But what has happened is there is a absolute bond between the Bills and Sabres, from starting with ownership that owns both teams. Myself and Brandon have become close friends and share best practices, talk all the time, and I pick his brain. I mean, a lot of stuff that I've dealt with in my first 3 years as GM, I've bounced off Brandon and just kind of, picked his brain and how would you handle this and why. And Sean and Donnie have become good friends. We all text each other all the time, checking in. The players have connected. I mean, our guys went to the opening game or the second game of the year. I can't remember. Jerseys on. Their players come to our games all the time. And what's really special about it is with both teams, the players are part of the community. And that is not something you always see. And it just, to me, is what makes it so special. So, I get choked up thinking about it, honestly, because it's really powerful, and just I feel thankful and lucky to be part of it.
Well, we can tell you that the rest of the, not just sporting world, the world period can see that, and to a degree can feel it, based on the reporting, the atmosphere around the Bills, the atmosphere around the Buffalo Sabres. So keep it rolling. Kevin, thanks for doing this. And here's hoping we'll check back towards the latter part of the regular season and maybe not to jinx you, be talking about playoff hockey. So
I sure hope so. And yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. And anytime you need me, I'm always available. And we'll see you around.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. All the best. Eh?
All right, take care, guys.